As India emerges from the enduring impacts of the pandemic, organizations need to change faster than ever before to address the profound challenges that they face and also make most of the tremendous opportunities that lie ahead of them.
PwC as a community of solvers is uniquely positioned to bring the right combination of people, capabilities, and technology. That's what we are calling the new equation.
The new equation focuses on two interconnected needs that clients face today. The need to build trust with a broader set of stakeholders and also to deliver sustained outcomes.
To enable our clients to meet these challenges over the next 5 years, we will double down on our investments in some of the key growth areas.
Our people are at the core of our success. We will continue to spend a minimum of 1% of our revenue in upskilling our people and our partners. At the same time, we also have tremendous focus on onboarding fresh talent. We will be increasing our campus hiring by 5 times in the next 5 years. We also expect to add over 2,000 jobs every year. And most importantly, we commit to ensuring a minimum of 40% diversity across our teams.
We are going to set up the Pwc Research Institute, which will identify and analyze the emerging trends across sectors. We will further invest in emerging technologies, digital and cloud, artificial intelligence and analytics, cyber and managed services, and work closely with our ecosystems and alliances to offer value-added as well as differentiated services to all our clients.
I'm excited about the difference we will make to businesses around the world and in India. It all adds up to the new equation.
Welcome to the concluding session of day 1 of 12th Business IT Conclave of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Workspace Dynamics with Technology Disruptions. This session is being moderated by Mr. Anupam Datta, Partner, Data Analytics and Tax Technology, PwC India, and Member IT Committee of the Bengal Chamber. We have with us Mr. Ravindra Chamaria, Group Chairman, Infinity Group, Mr. Sudhir Mathu, Partner, India, South Asian, IBM Talent and Transformation Practice, IBM India, Ms. Kristen Aman, Associate and Lawyer, Phil Fisher, Mr. Sandeep Alod, Director, Microsoft Technology Center, India, and Mr. Salil Khanna, National Head, Enterprise and Government Business, Jio. With this, I request Anupam to please take forward the session.
Thank you, Angana. I hope I'm audible as well as visible.
Yes.
This is the session where we are going digital, and definitely for last 1.5 years we have witnessed various events hosted on digital platform, and there are pros and cons. Definitely, meeting the people individually in various events is a different thing, but reaching out to thousands of people, that is another benefit which I've seen. So it is a technology which is changing our life. But today we will be talking a little different because we have witnessed last 1.5 years quite its change, actually, the disruption we call. So we have seen the changes in terms of the way we work, how we work, and also various aspects of talent. The workspace we used to use maybe long back, it is no longer, we are using the same way. So there are multiple elements. But before that, I'll just quickly reintroduce our eminent speakers. We have 5 eminent speakers today. I'll start with Mr. Chamaria, very known name. I think we have heard his name. When we started our career, various infrastructure, real estate, property of his, we used to hear from decades, right? Infinity Towers, we have the Godrej Waterside, many of them, right? But other than that, he's also vice chairman of the advisory board of Akshay Patra. I think many of us will know that, like 1.4 million children, starting from 10,000 plus, if I'm not mistaken, they are getting feeding from this, the institutes. Welcome, Mr. Chamaria.
Thank you. Namaskar.
We have also Mr. Sudhir Mathu. So we are talking about talent. He's our expert here. We'll be definitely listening to him, saying that what has changed over the years and how exactly we are ready to adopt these changes. So welcome, Mr. Sudhir Mathu, partner, IBM.
Namaskar, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Now, I'm going to introduce Ms. Christian Amon. A little different than the other people we have, because she will put an aspect which is going to mitigate the risk, which is going, which as we have seen over in the last few years, in terms of specifically lawmaking, the GDPR and many other data protection areas. So, welcome, Ms. Christine.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for having me.
Perfect. And also we have technology when we're talking about. Microsoft is one of the big name we have. This is something we have started like in our school, college days. That is something which is very close to us. So we have Mr. Sandeep Alur, Director of Microsoft Technology. Welcome, Mr. Sandeep.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and glad to be here this evening. Thanks, Anupam.
Perfect. And last but not the least, Mr. Salil Khanna. He is National Head of Enterprise and Government Business Geo. I think having more than 25 years, actually, 2.5 decades experience, and one of the founder member of Enterprise Business in Geo. So welcome, Mr. Salil.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Great to be here today.
So great. So we'll use as much as possible their insight and point of views, because you can see that we have 4 dimensions covered: infrastructure, both in real estate as well as technology. We have talent, which is one of the critical area for us. We have a main speaker from that side. We have privacy, that is also important. And last but not the least, we are also talking about the technology disruption. So all of us, we are here, we'll be listening their point of view. So I'll start with Mr. Ravindra Chamaria. You have walked more miles than many of us. You have seen the changes. You have witnessed ups and downs in the business, corporate industries and all. What has changed in the last 1.5 years compared to last 2-3 decades? Mr. Chamaria, you're able to hear us? So maybe I'll move this question to Mr. Salil, in case you are able to hear us. You have been, been part of our network. Right now, we are talking in digital media, thanks to you and many of our colleagues like you, who has made it possible. What is the change you have witnessed in last 1.5 years?
I think change is a very small world. I think what we have witnessed is a very rare disruption, where the social process, the business process, the personal, the family, everything has been impacted. And maybe what we were anticipating to happen in a decade in terms of the evolution of technology maybe has happened in 1.5 to 2 years, and that change seems to be very permanent in nature. And it is not something that the change will happen only during the pandemic times and then things will go back to normal. I don't think that certain things will go back to normal. I think in many ways it's a new world order, from companies' point of view, from employees' point of view, from consumers, customers' point of view, as well as from all stakeholders' point of view. So I think that's my firm belief, and we have seen it in actually many areas. The way online education almost came into being almost overnight, right? Healthcare, remote healthcare, digital healthcare, the way that caught up. India was already doing e-com transactions, banking transactions, digitally, but the way the proliferation has happened, and the way consumers have started demanding digital services from the organizations, the way employees have started demanding digital connectivity or digital way of doing things. I think this is unprecedented. Somewhere we had said that the next 8 decades we'll see more technology evolution than what we have seen in last few centuries. But I think what we have seen last 1.5 years is what was to come in next 1 decade. That's what's my firm belief.
So if we understood correctly, your point of view is that it is going to stay. The changes is going to be there. It is not that we are going to go back to the maybe 2019 of the the way we used to work.
Yes, in many ways, it will never go back completely to what it was. I think just like we have a BC and AD, now people will talk of 2019 and BC and AC, before Corona and after Corona. I think the certain things have taken a huge jump. It's a complete leapfrog of technology, leapfrog of the way the entire stakeholder system is working with each other. The collaboration is working, the workspace is changing, the employee expectation, consumer expectation, everything is definitely has gone to the next orbit, and I don't think it will come back. There might be a hybrid ways of working, or hybrid ways will emerge. Portion of it what we used to do earlier, but most of it will be something new which we have never done before.
So I'll take this view to Mr. Chamaria. What is your, you have seen more changes, you have seen more disruptions over the decades. What is your point of view that whether this change is going to be remain same, or we can go back to the way we used to work earlier? I think, sir, you're speaking on mute.
Sorry.
Perfect.
First of all, the disruption is the way of life. It's not a new disruption which has come. It may be more severe, it may be more, prominent. But if you see, hundreds and thousands of year disruptions are coming, and the mankind is coping with it. So, as just now the speaker said that, of course, it has, it has compressed the timing. The IT revolution, which should have come in 2 years, 1 or 2 decades, has come in 1 or 2 years. Which is very interesting. So basically, this disruption is very healthy according to me, and IT has come into the play. People who are not IT savvy, they have also come into the play, and because of this disruption, at least. The best thing we have seen is last 1.5 years that we would still operative. We are still working because of the technology. If the technology wouldn't have been there, we were just absolutely dead in that sense. So according to me, this disruption has really helped in that sense. But if I talk about the infrastructure part, if I talk about the office part, which is what I'm supposed to talk about, there has been a mixed position. People want to work from home, and people are dying to come back to office. Both are correct. And the same person, he or she also wants both the things to happen. So it's a kind of a hybrid model which will work out. They will work from home. They will also come to office. It will not that 100% work from home, 100% coming to office. That's what I see the trend here, And what it has done is also that the quality of infrastructure has to be a drastic, change. It has to improve. People, who were not quality conscious as far as the buildings are concerned, now the demand comes from the employee, that I want this, I want this, I want this, which is good. So one has to improve the quality of infrastructure. One has to provide more parking area. One has to provide more office space for a social distancing. So if 20-30% people are working from home, there'll be an increase of the capacity in the size of the places, by 20-30-40%. So the demand of office will still remain. And the best thing which has happened, which I have witnessed in last 1.5 months, so many companies are now looking at Calcutta. Good companies which has not come to Calcutta earlier. Calcutta was not in their radar, but now it has come into their radar. And the reason being that the son of soil who has gone outside, as we know, that at least 20% of the IT professionals all over the country are from Bengal. And they have, in this COVID time, most of them has realized that they are missing family and this and that. So they have been telling their, bosses that if we can be shifted to Calcutta, we'll be happy to go to Calcutta as long as you set up there. So there are 2-3 big major companies of the size of Cognizant and this and that who wants to come to Calcutta, and they told me that this is what is happening, and their staff who are out of Bengal would like to come back to Calcutta. So as far as our experience goes, as long as the workplace is good quality, there is proper social distancing, proper maintenance, and people feel comfortable, I think this work from office is not fully practical. Yes, hybrid will be there, but they will still need to come to office. That's what I feel.
I think, frankly speaking, I was a little skeptical. I was thinking that as a very known, eminent person from the real estate, you will be giving a view which is not that optimistic the way you have presented. But that gives a very positive vibe in the discussion, saying that yes, this is the change, and we are welcoming this change, specifically this part of the world. And sir, you rightly pointed out that the organizations are trying to reach the talent rather than talent is going to reach the organization in different location. Yeah,
correct.
So maybe I'll take this clue from you that the bigger organization is trying to come to this part of the world to Mr. Sudhir, because he knows the talent better than anyone else. So I'll ask you that, is it the same view you have that organizations are coming this area, which is making the opportunity more, creating the more employment, and also bringing back the people who were part of this part, this part of the world?
I think it's a true statement, right? Like Dr. Chamaria said, that folks, everybody, right? If you step back from the phenomena, there were 3 or 4 things which we all need to recognize and accept, right? And I think some bit everybody are skeptical, denial, but reality is there are about 4 things that will happen as we move forward. First thing is everybody will get used to distributed workforce. And it's not an IT statement. It's statement for every single sector, unless you have to be on the shop floor or on the field. And if you can manage remotely, world has proven what can be done remotely, including consulting. Second piece is really around, if you take every business is a supply chain, and there's not a single business globally which would not have been interrupted at least once in the last 1.5 years. So everybody is adopting digital. It could be hyperscale automation, whatever it is, but the digital workers are the new reality, which everybody has to accept. Third becomes the experience, like Mr. Chamaria said, right? I'm closer to the family. I know what I was missing. I want to stay here, right? And if you aggregate it up, few companies will choose to set up more offices. It's true for most of the regions, including East. The fourth one, which I think is quite important, is the evolution of leadership. Now, if you see, the leadership is the weakest link you have. People are not used to, leadership is not used to distributed workforce. They are not used to counting for digital workers in the equation. Your expectation from millennials and everybody else working is very different. Your experiences have to be Netflix-like, if nothing else, right? And I think the leadership muscle is struggling with that. So few and far you would see adopt this measure very fast, but you'll also see big houses naming everybody has to come back to work. But I think everybody is testing the waters. The reality is these 4 things will continue to evolve and will continue to be part of our life. And unless you don't address all 4 aspects of life, I think it will be continuing to challenge. The part which I think becomes interesting, people are great, like Mr. Chamaria said, right? And I think Salil mentioned it. We love what we have. Same person wants to stay at office, same person wants to go back home, but there's answer somewhere in between, right? Now, if you really see the folks who are back there, the biggest opportunity I see in East is how, even if the person stays for another 2 years, and everybody has, if you take an average age of about what we have right now in India, people have a long runway to work. How do you flourish East more that you can see a 20-year career versus it was a good stint for the last 4 years? Now I'm again going back, right? I think that is an area of opportunity that as everybody as an ecosystem, right, is coming together. And that is predominantly, right, you need to have large corporates, you have to have the government partnerships, you have to have the public as well as private venture funding. Everybody has to come together to really see how would that ecosystem last, which would actually flourish from here, because it's a great opportunity to begin with. But I would say it's like a incubation period of that opportunity. And I think it'll be interesting to see how we flourish from here. That would be my sense.
I think you rightly said that the leadership also, which comes to a picture, the way we understood that we need to trust the way that our people will work from a different location and a hybrid model. So this factor is very much important, the trusting the individuals. I think the earlier session, we are hearing from Sanjay Baru that the technology is there. Either you can use it for a good reason or not so good reason, right? So organization needs to be also, other than trusting, needs to have those area which can ring fence the safety on the privacy policies and all. Maybe I'll take this clue to this question, that what do you think the organization should do differently, or maybe has already started doing differently in last 1.5 years, which can safeguard specifically this type of working structure, the model structure which are right now working with?
So do you mean within every organization, or do you, well, I think I just can give an overview for the European organizations, and also with respect to the GDPR that is into force since 2018, because we are we're seeing that a lot of companies have amended their practices because of the GDPR, and they're still doing so. But now we also see the regulators that are also pushing a lot more from now, because they are trying to, for example, there is now this requirement for a legal basis for each data processing, and also to have to analyze and record relevant data processing activities. And yes, also with the third country data transfer, they are requiring now to do certain things. And this has definitely changed within the last 1.5 years, because some regulators, they waited some time to let the companies adapt that were not so much prepared for work from home. But then they also started to warn, for example, they were some German regulator, for example, they were saying that it's not in line with the GDPR to use Zoom, for example. And they were trying to stop these developments that we've all seen within the past 1.5 years. And so I don't think it really made sense to do something like that at this point. But yeah, it totally varied within the different European countries.
Yeah, I think you rightly said that initially we are not prepared. Initially, various organizations, the country, they were kind of putting restrictions on usage of various platforms, which definitely it can't be a way of working, because as you right now, the Zoom, Google Hangout, or various platforms is very common. Right now we are hosting in similar platform, right? So it has to be kind of a revisited by country, and while doing that, I think we have had more usage of cyber security, forensics, and various way to ring fence in terms of the risk and also mitigate the risk which is getting generated because of the way we are working. But at the same time, I'll come to Mr. Sandeep specifically when it comes to the technology, right? This is a disruption, and technology has really been our guiding star in terms of making the changes so easy. I think overnight we're not prepared for the COVID and the pandemic. Overnight we have shifted to a kind of a mode where we could deliver so many things. I think Mr. Chamari has said that the adoption has increased significantly. What is your view how the technology is helping, which they used to do it maybe 1 decade before also, but how the speed, the acceleration changed over the last 1.5 years?
Yeah, Anupam, thanks for the question. Interestingly, if you look at it, technology adoption has been happening for a long time. In fact, in the month of I would say February, our CEO made a statement. In fact, not this February, last August, post-pandemic, 2 months into the pandemic, our CEO made the statement saying, we have seen 2 years of digital transformation or adoption that has happened in 2 months, right? The insight there is technology, while it's evolving, I think the here and now availability in terms of its maturity has been there. I think that's the good part for all of us, because of which we're able to scale. Today, if you look at, we're on Zoom call. If I take Teams as an example, as a platform, pre-pandemic, I think we were at about 25, 30 million active users. Today, we've crossed 200 million users, right? So that means, was technology ready to take up that load overnight? Answer is yes. I think maturity of technology and the way it was built to handle planet scale, I think that's probably is one key evidence we have to look into in terms of how technology adoption has happened. Hence, it has worked. You see, adoption can happen, but it should work, right? Seamlessly. I think that's number one. Number two, it's a reset. I think a lot of us have spoken about the fact that it's good and a lot of pros is there in what we've done, but it has also kind of brought reduce the digital divide we had before. Thanks to pandemic, a lot of users who probably deferred their plans to embrace technology, all those firms have kind of fast-tracked technology adoption, right? Again, thanks to technology. And even today, if you look at anything that people are doing, whether it is shopping online or whether even when it comes to plant operations, while the plant is functioning 24/7, even in the pandemic times, but for a plant manager to have a view of what's happening, not being there on premise, is a reality, thanks to technology again, right? Doctors across the globe. In fact, today I can openly say that doctors in metro cities are assisting doctors in tier 2 cities, thanks to technology again, because that never happened. They never thought of, can I assist a junior surgeon to perform surgery in real time? It is happening today. In fact, as Microsoft, we're talking to customers where all of these have been asked. While we evangelized this in the past, customers were less proactive. In the current times, whether you like it or not, one has to stay proactive to actually thrive in the modern hybrid environment.
But tell me one thing, which I'll be very curious to ask. Like, technology made this possible, this session, where all of us sitting different location remotely, right?
Yeah.
Is the beauty of it, but at the same time, maybe next I'll go to Mr. Chamaria for sure, that don't you think in the real estate or various way we used to connect each other has changed because of the technology which was not so good, which used to be nice earlier?
It's a question to me, Anupam?
Yeah. Because technology made it possible, but we are losing something, the personal touch.
Yeah. See, look at it this way. Let me answer that. And that's a wonderful question, by the way. Today, we are on this call. It is 2D, right? I mean, it's a two-dimensional experience. Some of us are on large screen, some of us small. It's not equitable. There is no sense of belonging. There is no presence that we feel each one of us. In fact, thanks to technology, again, we are entering a world called metaverse. We're entering a world called mixed reality, augmented reality, right? Mixed reality is basically today, the technology like holoportation. That means Anupam is actually hosting the session. Let's say we are 80 of us on the call. Can all of us feel the presence in a room despite not being in the room? Absolutely yes. Thanks to technology like mixed reality, thanks to technology like holoportation, it is a reality today. Just so that you know, last week, using the power of HoloLens, which is a head-mounted device, I connected with a couple of my colleagues in Gurgaon. I felt their presence in the room despite they not being in the room. That's the future. In fact, that's probably is where even real estate space, they'll create these experiences, right? Where they'll have zones where you can connect to your colleagues in other part of the world, being in that room, wearing the head-mounted device, and you feel their presence right in front of you. That's future.
But Mr. Chamaria, maybe I'll come back to you. Don't you think this is a threat? Specifically real estate, the personal touch is missing. We are seeing the virtual, and people can join from remote location. Absolutely.
Yeah, as far as the people who can work from remote location, of course, they will not need the real estate at office, but they will need the real estate at home. So as far as the real estate demand is concerned, the square footage will go up, it will not go down. So quite possible that yes, some of the work can be done from home, something will be done from home, but then they will need extra space in the home.
Exactly.
And it's
but don't you think that?
Sorry, please.
Yeah.
I think Anupam, I want to come in here. I think, in my
Perfect.
view, the whole concept of a workplace and an office, that is going to change. Right? It is truly going to become work from anywhere, with flexibility, with agility, with adaptability, wherever you want. And I think this will give rise to a lot of satellite offices. People may not go to the main office, which is 20 kilometers away from their home, but they may choose to walk to a some nearby place where they can go and log in and continue the way they used to work. So it is going to work from anywhere. If let's say, talking of Mr. Chamaria's buildings, people would like to continue to work what they were doing at the desk, in the cafeteria, in the garden, in the parking, when they're going back. So I think the whole concept of office workspace is going to change. And fully agree with Mr. Chamaria that it is actually, people will need certain square feet of space to be functional, and that square feet of space can be morning 9 to 11 in one building, in one place, and evening somewhere else. So I think there's a lot of flexibility and agility which is going to come into the system.
So I think we have heard from Mr. Salil as well as Mr. Specifically from the technology side, right? What I've understood that it is most welcome for us to work from remotely. But at the same time, there is personal touch needed. Many times we used to connect with each other over a tea or a coffee, right? The way we used to work. I think the hybrid model also needs to be there. That's my view of it. But maybe I'll ask Mr. Sudhir, because he knows the talent more than anyone else. Again, I'm saying that. What your sense that whether the people are willing to work from remotely with the help of the Geo or Microsoft of the world, or they would like to come to a place where they can grab a tea of a cup of coffee and chat while working?
I think it's a great question, Anupam. I think it's gonna be the hybrid itself means it's more than two, right? So like Sandeep was saying, yeah, who would not want to be in that session, right? While you are sitting in a cab and you can be in with Sandeep in Gurgaon or with me in Bangalore. And I think all three are true. People still want to go back to work in some shape and form. A couple of days, 1 day, 2 days, it would vary by the personal needs. Second, people would want the flexibility. And I think if you see the Western world, right, even in the US, you have much more established work offices from home. Now, India is not designed from work from home. That's the real estate, how it's designed. And I like that comment, right? The real estate will go up. But everybody has carved some space which is called an office or a desk or a corner somewhere in the house, which is the dedicated workspace. I think that will continue to have. Third, I think so from the going to office, yes. Mixed reality, yes. Home, yes. I think all combinations will happen. And that's the reality of it, right? The part which I think which leaders will struggle is how much should I get this space? That's the biggest question today. Am I getting everybody? Am I getting 50%? Then you have mobile space. If you have mobile space, now is everybody mobile? Who gets the conference rooms? It is disrupting the whole space of even getting people back to work in a hybrid space. It is actually the topic which gets discussed in every single leadership. Who should come when and who decides it? And what's the format, right? And I think that is what is going to be interesting as we go forward. But I think that whole space is evolving quite fast, and depending on the industry and the sector you are in, you might have a slightly different response. But I think what leaders need to continue to think, how do we use in their own context and their own journey, all three, whatever best works for them, including employees, right? Because at the end of the day, the one factor which I think, Anupam, you touched a bit earlier, is the psychological safety, right? The mental well-being, right? I mean, and we are seeing the symptoms of it in terms of how people are reacting, behaving. But psychological safety is more than just the job, right? And I think there's a lot more muscle everybody has to build around this topic and accept people where they are and giving them a sense of belongingness. It's easier to say, but to make it happen in reality is quite hard, right? And I think people should not shy away, including leaders, seeking that help.
Yeah,
leadership can be lonely, but they can seek help.
Yes, absolutely. But tell me one thing in terms of, where we are thinking about allowing people to work in a hybrid model. There are lots of queries we have that what is the optimal approach to use the space, in terms of the network, in terms of the, the infrastructure. Maybe I'll ask this question to Mr. Salil, because Geo as a network provider, I think you have seen the drastic changes, right? But do you think the organization needs to revalidate and every time they need to recalculate, which is also a very difficult job to do, knowing that the situation changes overnight?
So I think if you look at it, from a purely technology infrastructure, which is the telecom infrastructure and the IT infrastructure point of view, the mere fact that, when the entire workload shifted from a office location and got distributed to, homes all over India, people went back to their homes, maybe 200 kilometers away, maybe 1200 kilometers away. And, the demand generation or the data which used to be consumed in the offices, it got distributed. The networks of this country were able to cope up. Yeah, that itself is a very good testimony of that, there was enough flexibility, there was enough fluidity in the overall network infrastructure, so that such kind of a shift could be adjusted and offered to the customers. And nobody actually, I have heard of very few cases where people said that they could not perform, work from home or work remotely, whatever they used to perform in the offices. I think the organizations, rose to the challenge, the networks rose to the challenge, and the IT companies like Microsoft, Google, everybody rose to the challenge, and this has happened. Going into the future, what Jio is doing, we are making sure that we take fiber to each and every building, whether it's a residential building or it's a office building, right? Our 4G is already, pan India, right? We are also talking of now bringing 5G. So at least from a technology infrastructure, network infrastructure point of view, I think India is going to be at par with the developed economies. That's a very big statement, but yes, I'm very confidently making that. So I think,
so maybe,
yeah. So I think I have great confidence that digital infrastructure wise, we will be there. We are already on that journey. We have proven that when the demand suddenly became 10x, 20x, in pockets where it was not used to be there, the infrastructure was created overnight or had enough capacity to that kind of overuse. So I'm very, very certain, at least from technology, infrastructure, network point of view, we are well covered for whatever is the way of working, whether it is hybrid, whether it is work from home, work from office, having necessary flexibilities, and all components of the organization are actually now ready to do that journey.
I'll go to Mr. Chamaria, because what you are saying, specifically in terms of the network, right? The geo network or similar network can change to 1 times to 10 times to 20 times, right? Because that's flexibility you are providing. We know that physical space, that flexibility is not the same way. It is different. So the corporate, Mr. Chamaria, they're worried about what will be my size of my workspace, which we need to have it, right? Whether we can bring that flexibility in infrastructure, specifically when it comes to real estate, the workspace where the people can work.
Yes, sure. And there is a realization amongst the corporate that they cannot fit in one person in 45 square feet. It has to be 100 or 125. So the space is getting double or triple, as far as the corporates are concerned. And the employee himself, or they are looking for various social infrastructure. They want ample parking space. They want ample place, coffee shop also. They don't want, closure one. So there's a huge demand for better quality of building, better infrastructure. Co-working spaces are quite in demand, where it's a flexible that you can use, and it can be a temporary. You are not getting into a long-term commitment, because people are hesitant in getting into long-term commitment. But last 1.5 years, a lot of people have reduced their office space. A lot of people in hurry. Many are coming back. Many are now coming back. They are looking for their space back. That's our experience in last 2 months. And as I said, the big corporates are coming back. People who has, we had a very bad time last year, and also up to March, April. But now we are seeing lot of interest generating. We all know Wipro has said that 100% come to office. So people like them are taking these kind of decisions. I'm still of the believer that hybrid will work. People will have their seat in the office, as well as they will have the option to work from office or cafe, or from their home, or from the car, or whatever, But everybody cannot do that. Some of the functions has to be done at the site, such can be done outside.
I think 3 points you have highlighted, which I really like, that along with the network flexibility, the infrastructure flexibility is there with us.
Sure.
Right. The second thing you said, that the hybrid model is going to stay. So maybe organization needs to pick the right business function, which can be operated remotely, which are the other one which needs to be there in that.
Correct.
And third one, you said that earlier we may used to get into a 40 square feet area for one individual or two individual. That needs to be changed. We need to get more facilities, right?
Correct.
So if we visualize how the future workspace, maybe next 2 years or 3 years will look like, what are the things you visualize that has to be part of the office space?
So basically, the office space has to now evolve, and it's evolving. If you see many co-working spaces, it's like a cafe, So you are sitting in the office, but the look and feel is like cafe also. So all those things has to come, and it's coming very fast, So basically what they need is a space. What the employee need is some social infrastructure into the office itself, and where, they're looking for green spaces, as we believe in doing all the green buildings. So basically, there also people are talking about it, what kind of air they are breathing, whether it's, green building, clean air, clean maintenance, all those things are there. So it is evolving and very fast. Quality of infrastructure in the offices are getting into the sea change. Be it private, be it rented. People are, of course, as I said, that people are not wanted to commit, 9-year lease or 12-year lease, but they are very happy if you give them the flexi things, Okay, they can leave, they can go, they can come, give them plug and play space, they will come. So according to me, frankly speaking, I am not that worried about that offices will be closed down, the spaces will not be utilized. I personally feel no. There'll be some shift to the work from home, but there'll be some space shift also into the office area. They would like a bigger space, more facilities. So the square footage wise, there shouldn't be any problem. And, the work from home is very good. Technology is very good. It's workable. But if you look at the practical, in India, we are still 3 generations living in one apartment. So work from home, easy to say it's working, but it's also taking a lot of toll, So it will evolve, for sure it will evolve. But as I said, then the workspace in the office, in the home has to be separate. It cannot be part of the drawing room or bedroom.
Yes, I think initially when we drastically move to a situation where the people has to work from their home, many people struggle to get a space. I think
Correct.
over the months and all, they found a space in a specific corner which will look like an office. I think what we have understood from you that infrastructure is ready for this flexibility. From the network side, we have heard that Mr. Salil has said that the network is ready. Maybe I'll go to Mr. Sudhir. Is our talent ready to have this hybrid model? Because both of the speaker has mentioned that they're ready. They're providing the infrastructure which is safe. They're providing the network which can be flexible from 1 time to 10 times or 20 times. But what is our talent is saying? They're ready to come to have this hybrid model?
I think it's very sectorial view, and I'm not trying to deflect the question. Reality is, in IT, we anyways had this flexibility, right? I mean, whatever said and done, and work from home is not a new concept. Extended periods lockdown, yeah, sure, that's hard. I think depending on, I think it will continue to be harder for sectors which have a lot more. I will go by sectors, right? Look at banks. No matter what has happened, the front office of the banks, they have continued to be open, right? And then as much as we say healthcare workers are frontline workers, but think about the essential commodities, including banking. Everybody has been showing up at, right? Will the reality of people, the need to go to banks, right? That will start diminishing down. What has happened in West will go through that journey, but it might be a lot slower journey downwards of not having physical banks. But if you see what has forced, right? Everybody has a digital wallet through which you pay because security, right? I mean, it drove that behavior of adoption, which I think Sandeep and Salil were alluding to. I think it's an opportunity for everybody to see if everybody is pursuing to go back to 2019. I think it will be a lot harder for employees and employers to get there. If people are accepting there is a different way to do it, I think it's far more prosperous and far more opportunistic for everybody to see what the new world will stay ahead of us. But I think the verdict is yet to be out. I think people do want, as an employee, everybody wants. But I think equally, I think employers are still not sure what does this new look like, right? There's a big debate happening in the US that if you move back to your cities, because US follows a slightly different model, which is your wage dependent on the region and the area you are in zip codes, right? Few companies have made a statement, irrespective of where you go, you have the same compensation, right? I think those factors will start playing in our economy as well as we mature in the journey. That if somebody is from Calcutta and is working in Calcutta, do you expect the same compensation? Ask an employer versus an employee, you'll get two different answers to the question. But those are the long-term bets which everybody wants to have. And those are the factors to bake in, right? In terms of as you continue to build this out. But I do think it's a good reality of how people will have, but it will vary very drastically in each sector. And I think it will evolve.
I think we have heard a little bit of I think the interest from some of the employees to coming to the office, but we also incentivize many of the cases so that they can come to the office, right? So it can be different infrastructure, safer infrastructure. But I am sure that basically if you go to Mr. Sandeep, you'll say that it's fine. People can work remotely from Himachal or Uttarakhand with having a technology along with you. But do you think it can be possible, or it should be? Or what is your point of view that hybrid model is better than working completely remotely?
No, I would definitely vote for hybrid. See, let's be very clear. There is the human angle to everything. Technology is one part of the solution, right? I'm sure the rest of the panelists, Sudhir and Salil, mentioned it. And of course, Mr. Chamaria mentioned that. I'm in office today, right? I come to office twice a week. That's essential for me to have a balanced life, that's, I mean, number one realization is there is life beyond technology, right? Technology is an enabler, it's a tool, right? Let's be very clear. And that's, in fact, this is a global study done by Microsoft. People have utmost flexibility in the current time. That's a realization globally, right? Now, the flexibility is the realization from the employer and employee from both point of view. Earlier, they asked from employee, but employer probably never extended flexibility. That's the reality today, right? Hence, I would definitely compliment the hybrid research that has happened. And interestingly, if you look at from a real estate standpoint, also, I've spoken to a few large customers in the country. They're trying to set up regional hubs beyond metros. Imagine today, I'm working in Bangalore and I'm from Mysore. I've gone back to Mysore because of pandemic and I'm working from my actual hometown. Now, I may not come back because, there's flexibility. But as an employer, they're giving me they're setting up regional, let's say, meeting hubs in co-working spaces where, despite me being in tier 2 city, if there's a need for me to take important meetings on a specific day and I want an equitable workplace, I will go to that co-working space, which is funded by my employer. I'll use a space and technology to basically be part of that ecosystem. So for us to have equitable workplace, Office gave that. But the bigger challenge, as Mr. Amaria said, is we need extra space at home to set it up. But I think it's evolving. I think as we go along, each of us, as rightly said earlier, it's a joint family and it's difficult to have equitable workplace that also create disruption in one's work style and work in terms of performance on the whole. Every employee is looking at how can technology help them understand how people are experiencing in the first place. Experience management employees is a big deal now. Are people happy working from home? Are they productive? By the way, the bigger question is the same person whom we employed working from home. That's a big question, right? So quite a few challenges, but I would definitely, to answer to your question, keeping it short, hybrid is real. Hybrid will probably is essential. Flexibility at the core is a realization. People are empathetic on that aspect. So that's the best part of the current change we're seeing.
I think one point which Mr. Chamaria said that many of the large corporates are planning to come to East. Thanks to the route, the talent we have in the eastern part of the India, and we are quite ready for welcoming them. So do you think this disruption helped us, specifically who are from eastern part of the world, in India, specifically growing the employment and making the opportunities for them, or do you think that it is not that much? Mr. Chamaria. So do you think it is helpful for you're speaking on mute. You're speaking on mute.
Sorry. No, what I see is that there is a huge interest now generating. It's taking also, it's getting into it. I have rented out a space to some company who is come to Calcutta. Only one of the reason is this. And recently only I concluded. And I had a talk with their HR and these people, and that's what they have to say. So I personally feel that as far as Calcutta, or, like just now, the speaker was saying that, they want to go to tier 2 city or tier 3 city or want to go to Mysore.
Yes.
It's like Calcutta is also like that, So people are from Bangalore, they'll come to Calcutta. From Bombay, they'll come to Calcutta. For them, you may call it tier 2 or tier 3 or whatever. But the things that people will come here, that I'm now almost convinced that a lot of people wants to come back.
Yes, I think it's an opportunity for us, specifically people coming from the east part of the India, right?
For sure. And it's not as far as the employability is concerned, the person who comes here, there are indirect jobs also created because of person coming back here, So it's a huge upside if that really happens.
Yes. Maybe I'll ask this question to Mr. Salil, because you look from overall India perspective. Do you think this is the same observation you have, specifically the network, the usage from eastern part of India?
Yeah, obviously, I think Calcutta and so many other parts of East are actually showing us that dramatic increase in the network usage, dramatic increase in the number of subscribers who latch on and who transact. So I think that That trend is completely visible, and it is so well distributed that people from Bangalore are going back to Mysore or are going back to Calcutta or Delhi. Similarly, people from Delhi are going. So there's a lot of rebalancing of the employees is happening, and it's happening all over India. It is going into tier 2, tier 3. It is going into tier 1, because many people still have their homes in Delhi, Bangalore, and the Calcutta of the world. I think the whole order is changing. It is redistributing itself, and the good part is that the entire infrastructure is supporting that. Right? You can put more load in Calcutta. Calcutta will stay. You can suddenly move the load from Calcutta to maybe some smaller town in West Bengal. Even that is possible. So I think the flexibility and agility that has been proven in the overall stakeholders of the entire professional world is something which is very good for future. Every company can have their own definition of hybrid. Somebody can say 25% in office, 75% in home. Somebody can say 2 days in office, 3 days at home. So whatever suits everybody, whatever suits a bank, they can do that. Whatever suits a manufacturing organization, they can do that. Whatever suits IT. So I think that's for me the biggest positive out of this entire journey of last 1.5 years that we have traversed. We are really ready for the future, and we are ready for the future in which every organization, every individual, every employer can find their own meaning and find their own balance of how to operate.
Exactly. But tell me one thing, maybe I'll ask this question to Mr. Sudhir, that the hybrid model or work from home, we heard from the infrastructure, network, real estate. Both are willing to, change and give you flexibility to the corporate and the talent, being attractive and safe for them to come and visit, right? But still, we are working from home. Mental health, we haven't spoken about. Do you think it is impacting the talent, specifically the people working from home for a long time?
I think it is. I think it is impacting everybody, right? I mean, it's impacting, like Mr. Maria said, there are 3 generations, sometimes 4 generations in the same 2, 3, 4 bedroom, depending on how you have the average infrastructure in India. So I think it is taking a toll. I think what is also important is we need to bake in, right? I mean, we always see US is opening up, Singapore opened, then they're right now again in the slowdown mode. I think India, we need to bake in the size of India. US is only 300 million and we are 1 billion plus, right? The vaccination till the time it doesn't happen, right? No, and it's just a scale at it, right? In terms of where we operate. I think it will be very hard to even get to the normalization of saying 50-50. 20-30% in next 2 to 3 years, yes. Because where are you going to keep the kids? Kids are not vaccinated. Parents have a huge poll. If you are in parent-teacher groups, you can see the poll split in terms of Karnataka is saying, okay, till grade 6. And my parents are revolting. They're not willing to send the kids back home, to school, right? So if there's nobody to take care of them, so who's going to go back to work? Right. So it's a catch-22. I mean, if you see why is school always 8 to 5 or 8 to 4, right? Because in the industrial revolution, that's the time when factories started. So if people have to go work in the factory, what do you do with the kids? You put them in school. So the timing always matched. Yes. And now if you say, yeah, everything is open, is not there, kids are not vaccinated, it doesn't move the equation. Like you guys say, it's a new equation in PwC, right? It's a big factor of the equation. You have kids sitting at home, you can't leave them with nobody, right? You can't allow, help to come in or babysitters to come in. So it's a lot more complex in India than any other part of the world, because that is how our societal fabric is constructed, right? So we need to bake that into this new equation as we solve for it, because it's going to continue for a long time to get back to the newer ways of dealing with kids, dealing with parents, dealing with everybody, right? I mean, so I think it's a bit more complex and a bit more slower than all of us would want. That's probably our take on it.
Yeah, but maybe I'll go to Mr. Sandeep with the same point, right? Because what Sudhir has said, that the way you used to live, the way we used to, balance the work and all, trying to work together working with the kids, staying with the kids at home. It is getting difficult. It is getting difficult day by day when we have continued for 1.5 years working remotely, not getting the personal touch, specifically in terms of the working and all. Can technology help us to reduce? I'm not sure that whether it can eradicate, but it can reduce that stress or that kind of a challenges which is coming up, specifically working from home for a long time.
Yeah, see, this is where some innovations are underway. In fact, I can quote one quick example here. As Microsoft, we released something called Microsoft Viva. It's an experience management, I would say, tool. Now, look at this. Simply put, each of us are used to commute to office in the morning, and we mindfully disconnect in the evening. We need that disconnect where we get back home. Well, you're working from home, there's no full stop, right? It's a natural progression into work which continues beyond working hours, beyond evenings. So the tool helps you set up virtual commute, right? It reminds you saying, what, time to wind up, time to get back home, right? Also things like, you're sitting in one place, it affects mental well-being, physical well-being also significantly. So tools coming in a way in terms of helping you unwind. For example, Mindspace is one I would say meditation app that's available, where it gives you a reminder saying it's time to stand up, meditate. For example, if you're wearing an Apple Watch, it tells you, hey, it's time to breathe, right? You've not you stuck to your mission for long, time to breathe. So technology intervention has to happen, right? And there should be a way for us to assess. See, end of the day, technology is available. It's up to one's usage. See, it might remind me I have to breathe, watch, but do I do it? Do I action it? I don't know. Many times I've just snoozed it, right? My point is, as an employer in the hybrid world, there has to be a mechanism where we get signals from individual into working, wherever they're working, in terms of well-being. And technology can make a difference. I would say innovation underway, right? Today, my video is on, right? What signals have you got today in terms of am I happy, sad, am I doing well? Those signals have to somewhat in the much more privacy and secure fashion, and it has to be captured so that somebody gets to know in terms of my working pattern, is it working or not? If it's not working, intervention has to come in. For example, from a talent management, right? So these spoke about well-being. My point is, how will a talent manager know my well-being because I'm not there physically there for somebody to know I'm not doing well, right? So
Correct.
We talk about accessibility. In the current times, accessibility is of utmost importance because a lot of accessibility is not visible, it's internal. So technology has to come in, innovations underway, but again, legality. Can somebody supervise me while my video is on is a big question, so that they can get signals about well-being. So it's an interesting time, Anupam. Technology has to probably complement, but there has to be it's a handshake between privacy, security, and managing one's well-being.
Maybe I'll take this clue too, and I'll ask the question to Ms. Kristen, specifically on the privacy, right? Because of the remote working, I think every speaker here talked about the hybrid model or remote working is going to stay with us. But don't you think it is a challenge specifically for the employers both in terms of the privacy, right? What is your suggestion or your idea? Because you have seen in Europe, they may have encountered the same thing maybe 1 or 2 months ahead of us because the pandemic hit them a little earlier than what we have, right? What is your view on that?
Yes, well, I think most employers are trying to ensure privacy by policies that enable to sensitize and instruct the employees. And yes, it's important to have a certain amount that could ensure privacy. For example, that you have something like ensuring security and confidentiality. For example, that you also, when you're working from home, that there is no one of your family members who may see what you're doing and so on, that you lock everything, and that yeah, you have password protection, everything like that. But still, yeah, for the hybrid model, it's definitely, it is a challenge to have both, that you can, yeah, that you're an employer who's there for and ensures the privacy, but on the other hand, that you can see also from an outside perspective, that, I mean, it's definitely challenging for an employer to see what the employees are really doing at home, and so no one really knows, and it's difficult to, I mean, for example, you could have your wife sitting next to you while you're working and seeing confidential information or something like that. But yeah, I think most organizations have reacted by ensuring, by having kind of policies, and they also want this hybrid model for the future, just to ensure also some flexibility for the employees. And I mean, we've seen it in the US, for example, that a lot of companies who said that everyone had to return back to the office, that a lot of employees did not accept that and just terminated.
No, I think you rightly said that the government has a policy specifically which is on very aggregated view, but the employers also need to have those policies in place to make sure that they're securing, the privacy, the data protection, and all the things. So maybe what we'll do, we have a few more minutes left. So we'll open for the questions from the audience. I think we have heard few of the queries which I was asking while talking. Maybe we'll open for the queries from the audience who are there in the live platform. So in the meantime, before the question comes, maybe I'll go with each of the speakers here to his or her point of view in terms of what the change will be. Is it like we are done with the changes, it is now more or less stable, or something is going to change? I know everyone talked about hybrid model. Is this something which is going to be there? What will be the optimal part of this hybrid model which we should look for? That is the point of view which I'll be looking from. So maybe I'll go to Mr. Chamaria first. You talked about that flexibility. You talked about the hybrid model. What is your point of view, specifically coming from the East, which is going to be there?
I still feel that as far as East is concerned, this hybrid model will be there, but lot of the brain which has gone out will come back, number one. Number two, I still have one point to make. Last 1.5 years, work from home has worked. People said they are more efficient, they have worked very hard, they have given more time. Frankly speaking, they had nothing else to do at that time. They had no social engagement, they could not go out, so they only worked. So you cannot take those data that will happen tomorrow when you have social pressure, when you also want to go to outside. Whether that kind of efficiency or that kind of work hour will be put in future also has to be seen. For sure, technology will evolve. For sure, technology as a tool we will use, but the human interaction, meeting, coming, it will still go on. So I personally feel that as far as infrastructure is concerned, nothing much to worry about. Things will, happen, and we will progress.
That's fantastic. Maybe I'll go to specifically asking this question to Sudhir in terms of the employee talent. For the East, if this is opportunity, that is what I think Mr. Chamaria was talking about. I think you echoed the same sentiment, and you echoed the hybrid model is going to be there. But what is your view? What will be the optimal, or how the organization or the corporates can reach an optimal hybrid model? Because you don't know 5 days a week or 2 days a week or 1 day a week, right? So what should be the approach to find the right mix, specifically in terms of the hybrid model?
I think in my personal opinion, if I were to share, I would say, Anupam, I think we all need to ask ourselves one question. Any engagement, how can I be helpful? Sounds very simple question, but it's quite powerful. If every employer and employee had a conversation, how can it be helpful? I think everybody will find the answer. Because without that, I think everybody's talking past each other, or everybody's trying to see what competition is doing, right? Because everybody has a single USP why they are existing and what works for them. So if I have to sum it all in one simple terms, I think if all of us paused ourselves and in any conversation, any interaction said, how can I be helpful? I think that to me will take us a long way. And in terms of where we are, I think we are in the very infancy stage of a new era where everybody's trying to explore. I think the new era is just starting. So I think those are my 2 comments.
Amazing. One question coming from the audience that maybe I'll go back to Mr. Salil. The audience is asking that whether we should have more, Wi-Fi in the cities. It is not only the corporates, offices, and all. Is this something which you can expect in eastern part of the India? And if so, how do you see the changes?
See, Wi-Fi technically has coexisted always with the cellular technology, right? Even with the 3G, Wi-Fi was there, 4G LTE Wi-Fi is there. Traditionally, Wi-Fi has been a means of, signaling communication within a closed space, inside office, inside a warehouse, etc. And when you go outside, then it is normally the cellular technology. But I think just wait for some more time. With the 5G coming, the whole concept of whether it should be 5G or Wi-Fi, I think that is going to take a very, very different meaning, very new meaning again. Once we roll out 5G and we talk of, industry 4.0, we talk of remote healthcare, we talk of robotic surgery, etc., etc. I think things are still going to evolve a lot with the rollout of 5G in India. So just watch for that space, and I think the answers will emerge after that.
Okay. There is another question, interesting question. Maybe I'll go to Mr. Sandeep. Specifically, this question related to the startups, right? Because we have seen, Uber of the world, Ola of the world, or Amazon of the world. Brick and mortars are there, but it is coexisting with the platforms and various startups, which has grown significantly huge.
Yeah.
So do you think that the scenario right now we are in for last maybe 1.5 years is going to promote more startups, or it is going to be more challenging for startups?
I would say it's going to promote, a lot more startups to emerge, because imagine, startups are resource hungry, right? I mean, they pretty much start up in a garage. I mean, that's how the ideas emerge. And in my opinion, a lot more would have happened. I don't have stats in terms of has it happened in a positive way, but I would say 2 things. One is ideas, probably a lot more startups have a mushroom for sure, but somebody who are at a stage where they were about to take off into probably to a maturity level, I think probably they were hurt because of because of the sudden change that happened. It has affected them in both ways, positive and negative, like any other industry. But I would say somebody who are imagine if you have to pretty much scale, you have to meet people in person, close deals. That's where they suffered initially. But of course, they've learned the way to make things happen in the current times. I would say both ends, Anupam. There's no one answer to it, honestly.
Okay, so it is opportunity as well as it can be difficulty for the startups, right, to grow.
Yeah.
One question came for Mr. Sudhir. Interesting question. The question is that work from anywhere or remote working, it has some benefits. Like, for example, it can have a work-life balance, better work-life balance. It can have a higher productivity, right? Reduce absenteeism. Do you agree? If not, what is your take on it?
No, I agree with it. It is productive till the time it's mutually agreed, right? I think that's the part, right? And I think that's the part where I say, I think having that space to work, right? I mean, you might have to pick up a kid, drop a kid, have your elderly parents at home. So your time schedules might change because you have responsibilities as a society. And we are far more close-knitted society than Western world. I think I would agree with that. Having the flexibility to choose your work hours, having the flexibility to choose the workspace, having the flexibility to pick the teams where you feel you belong. I think if you take all those 3, I personally do agree I think you will have far more productive workforce and outcomes you would want to achieve than restraining them.
There is another interesting question came. Maybe this question I'll give it to everyone, like their point of views. That is this model, the hybrid model, or this kind of a disruption, is helping one industry more than the others? Like, for example, IT industry, right? This is a very interesting question because the brick and mortars industry is having this kind of a trouble. Maybe this question open to any of our eminent speaker. What is your take that it is a little biased to the IT industry, or no, it's still open for everyone?
Can I share my thoughts?
Absolutely.
I'll keep it short. I think, unfortunately, this is my personal opinion. It is definitely favored industries which could survive not being together under real estate. Again, there's always been a digital divide that existed. There's always been a divide between haves and have-nots. That became very visible in the current times. That's my take.
Yeah, I think this is a great statement. Specifically, we have seen the talent war and all, which is very relevant for one industry more compared to the industry with hospitality or travel and tourism, right? Where I've seen the different view altogether. Maybe I'll go back to the last question, which you can expect from the audience, is that this question is a little interesting. I'm not sure I have understood correctly. Are cloud credits safe? So if I kind of change this question, is like, is it safe for this kind of a cloud infrastructures and all? I think maybe that's the question which the audience is asking. I'll request any of the speakers to provide the view, specifically knowing Mr. Salil, you're there.
I think, right? In my view, cloud is here to stay, and cloud has, enabled so many things. And it is just like, people were earlier thinking whether, mobile is safe. Should we use mobile? Should a company give mobile, or employee buy his own mobile? Which is more safe? I think all these are questions which will get answered with the passage of time. But absolutely, I think cloud is proving to be as safe as any other means of transaction or any other means of storing information, sharing information. There's no doubt in that.
Perfect. We have exceeded. Yeah, Christian, go ahead.
I just agree with Salil here because, it's definitely necessary to have the cloud. And of course, you can ensure by technical organizational measures that there is, for example, privacy and security requirements, that these are met. And so something like encryption, tokenization, etc., I think then there actually is not an issue here. And yes, it's definitely, no company could work without AWS or GCP or something like that. So it's just from a business perspective, it's definitely necessary, and it's gonna get more to that direction in the future, in my view.
Perfect. We'll keep getting lots of questions. Maybe maybe we'll go for the last question. I need to call this as the last question. This question came specifically, I think, that human interaction is the key to workspace dynamics. That's very known to everyone, right? But work from anywhere is the call of the hour. So how the organization should be balancing the both, right? Which is the human interaction versus remote working, which is the call of the hours.
I think, as I said earlier, every organization will find its own balance and find its own definition of what hybrid works for them. I don't think there's a single size fits all. Every organization, depending upon where they are in terms of their own digitalization, in terms of their employee engagement, consumer engagement, customer engagement, etc., they will find their own balance. They will find their own meaning of hybrid. But the good thing is that everything will be supported. Whatever is your need, that will be supported technologically, network-wise, infrastructure-wise. So I think it is going to be a win-win for all: win-win for employees, win-win for employers, win-win for infrastructure companies like Mr. Chamaria. It is it's going to benefit all. And there is nothing to feel sad about it or feel anxious about. I think we are in good times.
I think just to add to what Salil said, Anupam, I think what will also be important is to kind of qualify what would you achieve out of those engagements, right? It could be fun celebrations, somebody's birthday, some meetings. I think those moments that matter, where the interaction is required. And I think each person, each team, each industry can define moments that matter, which should have human interaction, because you also have work getting automated, which is also adding to the current situation, right? So I would say if people started focusing on what really mattered and the moments of truth or impact in that organization, I think those are the ones which are easier to kind of call out. These are the 5-10 things for which people should come to work. At least starts giving you a framework. How should you even be thinking about it? How do you get back?
Amazing. I think we need to now stop because we have already exceeded 7 minutes. So what I've understood so far, that the hybrid model is going to be there in future. What we've understood that our network infrastructure, our real estate infrastructure, they're both ready to work in this kind of hybrid model. Both are flexible to provide the corporates the talent, in terms of the cost, in terms of the safety, in terms of the usage of network. We also heard from Mr. Chamaria that this is an opportunity for the East. I think that's got echoed from the others also. And last but not the least, we have also heard that the privacy policies we need to be in place to make sure that we can mitigate the risk. So yes, change is good. We are expecting this pandemic to be over, because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that our people, all of us, we are healthy and safe. I think we have seen lots of challenges in terms of our safety. So now at the same time, we are coming back with the vaccinations. We are coming back with the real life. People are traveling again with a proper vaccination. But yes, the change is always good. And it is promising for eastern part of the India, specifically for the talent as well as for the corporate. So with that note, thanks to all our eminent speaker, and also to all of our audience joining from different technology platforms, and hope to see more and more such events. And also thanks to BCI to organizing such an event, because we have got lots of questions from the audience. So thank you. Thanks all of you. I'll give it back to
thank you very much.
Thank you, Anupam.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Anupam.
Have a good day.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, team.
Thank you so much for hosting.
Bye-bye.
I'll give it back to Angana to make a closure of this event today.
Thank you. It was a very fascinating session, and we are happy that we could justify such a relevant topic with your inputs and perspectives. Even personally, I really enjoyed this session, so thank you. I'll just take a minute to thank our sponsors, without whose support we couldn't have mounted this program. Special thanks to Government of West Bengal's Information Technology and Electronics Department and Nodal Agency Webel. Our diamond sponsor, MB Software Private Limited. Gold sponsors, PricewaterhouseCoopers Private Limited and Quest. Silver sponsors, Defendair from Switzerland, Infinity Group, Software Technology Park of India, West Bengal chapter, JIS Group, who is also our chief patron. Bronze sponsors, Bandhan Bank, Mazars, NRXN IT Technologies Private Limited, Sandu Solutions Private Limited. Our streaming partner, VC Communications. Join us on the day 2, that is on 22nd of September. We have 3 very interesting sessions: security, MSME Connect, and startup stories. It will start at 5 p.m. IST. See you.